What is going on, YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a locals match that happened here recently at RMC. This is going to be between myself on the right playing what I'm calling WarGreymon Rush, and then on the left my opponent's going to be playing Black Toolbox. Now, this is my tournament debut of this deck. It is something that has been in theory in my head for a bit. Shout out to my boy Just TCG, who did give me the idea of this deck probably over a month ago, and then I never really did anything about it up until recently, where I built this deck where it's going to be a Rookie Rush style deck, but focuses around the Digimon inheritable paired off with the yellow WarGreymon to make it so you could play out multiple Bushi Agumons for free while also being able to unsuspend, deal minus 6k and get rid of blockers. So we'll see how effective that strategy is going to be versus the black style deck, who has a lot of removal and stuff like Ultimate Flare, as well as a lot of blockers that I can't get over, such as Andromon and things like Blastmon. But we are going to see the High Andromon come out, which is a Digivolve for 2, but I am going to go to 3 with the TK regardless. And we saw in the first swing, I am going to get the Purple Kari out, and that's obviously one of the cards that you would want to get off of your first security checks, because now I can activate it multiple times throughout the game. If you get it later when you start to run low on security checks, then it's not going to be as impactful. But as we're gonna see, I'm gonna start to make use of this Kari right away by Blinding Ray and then tapping Kari, so I can gain another memory off of that, going up to 5. This is gonna allow me to be able to play the Pulsemon for 2 while also drawing a card, and then I can choke my opponent here by playing the TK, putting them at 1 and allowing me to search out my security a little bit more, because I do need to find an ultimate. So I'm going to be searching to see if there's anything I can find out of there, but I just grabbed the Pitomon. No ultimates to be found yet, but I can start building up some defensive walls so I can give myself some time. The reason I decided to tap the Kari there was to put my opponent at 1. I could have left it unsuspended, and then this turn when they swing in, I could have suspended it to gain the memory, but I found it to be similar either way. I'd rather put my opponent at 1 and restrict their options than leave them at 2 and make it so that because if they don't attack, then I won't be able to suspend the Kari. So if they don't attack, then they'll be able to play with the 2 memory. I suppose now, no matter what, they're just going to have the 1 memory, and they're going to play the WarGreymon. So that's a lot of memory, but like we've seen, I haven't really been able to get to any of my top end with the WarGreymon, so I'm not able to get rid of it here. If I had a WarGreymon out, I'd be able to just easily pop it, and now I'm gonna have to rely on something more like a Spiral Masquerade to try and get me out. Gonna go up and Blinding Ray up here, tapping the Kari, gaining the extra memory, popping another WarGreymon. So all my WarGreymons have pretty much been in my security. When I went in there and got the TKs, they weren't in there, so they were just starting to get refilled. So it would have been better for me to get those. Obviously, I would have had to have the ultimate for me to even get out into it, but I only play the 4 megas, so with 2 of them being in the security and now being trashed is gonna put me behind at my late game. As we saw there, I Spiral Masqueraded to put my opponent minus 6 on each, which popped the WarGreymon and put the High Andromon down to 7 because it did have the 1k DP boost from the Gogmamon. So I was able to swing in with the Turimon, give the minus 1k with the Pikmon, putting the High Andromon down to 6, and then trading. I had to get it off the board because I needed to get that offensive presence off of board. I'm starting to run lower on security checks, and I haven't hit any security yet, which is something that I should be. I could obviously be swinging in at any point here, but if I do hit a Ultimate Flare, then I'm just kind of done for. If my opponent wants to play an Ultimate Flare, then that's okay, because they're gonna have to pay the 8 memory to do so, and I will be able to build up a little bit. But if they do just Ultimate Flare me for free out of security, then I am probably just gonna lose. So I am starting to build up into some champions here, playing out a Sirenmon. This is making the board a bit more resilient to Ultimate Flare here, and then putting my opponent at 2 memory. So now, unless they go into the High Andromon again, they don't have any megas that they can Digivolve into. The High Andromon did surprise me a little bit because I haven't really seen it played, but the 12k DP for a 2 to Digivolve on a Mega is absolutely insane, and especially if they go out into something like a Zwart Defeat, because they would be able to pop one of my Karis, which has been relatively useful for this game so far. My opponent's going to swing, I'm going to tap the Kari and gain the memory. And the Andromon does go into the WarGreymon, so that's pretty good for me. When I saw that security check, I was a bit happier, because with that WarGreymon gone, they have 1 less card that can go into a Mega, which means that they can't go into Metal Garurumon, which would be able to pop a blocker and then go in for game. Now, I have a lot of checks, so I could potentially go in, especially now with the WarGreymon. A little bit of a cut there while I decide what I wanted to do. And so now I'm going to swing in with the WarGreymon. I'm not able to unsuspend with no security checks, and then it does hit the Metal Garurumon in raising and just dies there. So now I'm going to have to start building up some more blockers, because if my opponent just promotes, they'd be able to swing in, and I would have to block with both my blockers. and their Sealsdramon would survive, which would and delete both my blockers, so then I'd be in a bad position because I can't swing over the Sealsdramon right now. Going to have to try and make it 1 to 2 more turns so I can go to swing in. I can't really be swinging in with my Piddos considering that I'm going to have to pay so much memory, and I can't swing in with my Agumon or my Sukaimon as they'll just get blocked for free, especially from the Sealsdramon, because like I said, I can't be swinging over that right now. I just don't have the DP boost. And my opponent's going to go into the Gagumon, which is pretty scary because they could Digiburst on top of that and then pretty much make it so no matter what I have, I can't get over it, and it will stick for the rest of the till your opponent's turn. So if they put something like boost up the Sealsdramon, for example, they could set up a blocker that I wouldn't be able to get over even if I went into an Ultimate or a Mega here. So gonna have to start digging to see what I can get into. I have to be focused mostly on removal here just because if they keep having Digimon on board, then I'm just going to continue to be threatened to be being popped. So now I'm able to give -6 there and then swing with the Bushi to give the -1. Swinging the security check, going to see if my opponent's going to block here. I remember at this point there was a little bit miscommunication here because we're both just sitting here and I'm thinking what's going on and he's thinking what's going on, but I thought he was thinking about blocking. He thought I was thinking about doing something else, but I do hit the Ultimate Flare there, and that's pretty much what I was worried about this whole time. If I do hit Ultimate Flare, then the game could just potentially be over. Now, a lot of my board is just gone. My Bushi does survive because it is a 5 cost, but that's not going to be enough because now I only have 2 blockers that really can't go in and be attacking. I can give Security Attack -2 to the Sealsdramon for now, which allows me to next turn potentially go into WarGreymon, but even with the WarGreymon, I don't really have the swings on board. I can go ahead and go up, swing a few times. One of them is going to get blocked, and then so I won't be able to go swing in for game. But if my opponent does decide to do something like Digivolve on top of their Sealsdramon, I will have a chance to potentially be able to go in for game. The black deck does have a lot of cheaper options is what I'm finding. They play a lot of cards like the Waromanze and the Higher Andromon, so they can get up to their top end for relatively cheap, but they don't have any memory gain and haven't seen any tamers this game, so all their memory has been pretty much dependent on what I do, whether I want to give them 1 memory or more, and so I probably should have tried to be more conservative with the memory so far with this game, looking back at it now. Now we're going to see the Megidramon come out, which is terrifying because the BlitzGreymon is going to come out now. It's going to be able to de-Digivolve the Angelomon by 2, and then now it is a giant blocker that I'm not able to get over. And now, since I only have 1 blocker and they have 1 Digimon and then 1 in the back, they do just threaten game, so unless I'm able to find another blocker or something here, then I'm not going to be able to win this game. I do Digivolve the Angelomon so that way I can search and try to find a Pidomon, but the game is just over. I don't have the resources to win, and I don't have any way to come back, so we just go ahead and scoop it up and go into Game 2. I'm going to have my opponent go first Game 2, even though I am playing a Rookie Rush style deck. I do want to go second here because this deck plays a lot more off of the late game with the WarGreymons and the Angelomons, especially in this matchup, than it will versus his rookies, because we saw how many blockers there are and annoying things like that, so my rookies aren't going to be as impactful, so I want to get up to my top end, so I decided to go second. That gives me an extra draw and puts me behind a turn, which with this deck is fine because if you get up to your WarGreymon and your opponent suspends their Mega to attack, then you can swing into their Mega, give it the -6k, and swing over it. Now I'm just building up with the rookies here on board. I need to try and cycle. Like I said, I want to get to my top end. Just got to get those rookies out, start cycling and raising so I can get those draws, get the champions and ultimates that I need. The Metal Garurumon's going to come out, going to decide to Digiburst down the Pulsemon, probably just getting rid of the Inheritable on there so that if I do go into it, because it is not a once per turn attacking, so if I have a Pikmon under WarGreymon and I swing twice, I can get the -2k. Swinging with the Falcomon, it is going to survive. I decided to just swing there because it has the highest chance of surviving, and if it does die, then that's no big deal, but if it does survive, then it's going to force my opponent to either swing over it, which is going to make them have 1 less check into my security, or play some sort of removal to get rid of the Falcomon, because a 5k DP rookie is a bit annoying for pretty much any deck to get rid of. And I can bring out the TK, so no memory choking anymore. I can just be freely at 3 at the start of my turn every turn and search out my security. Grabbing the Turimon, so that makes it so I can start to build up. I want those champions so I can cycle on top of my rookies, start looking for those things and start to get up into my ultimates here. My opponent does have Mechanorimon, which is going to be incredibly annoying, but I am able to pop both by playing the Sukaimon and then going into the Spiral. I can give -6 to both the blockers, so the Metal Garurumon's still on board, which isn't as annoying because unless they go into Zwart Defeat, it isn't really intimidating that much. It can swing in for a couple checks, which usually isn't that bad of a thing because we do have some security triggers. Now Alterest is going to come out. I haven't been Alterest in a minute, so I kind of forgot what it did, so right there I was asking what my opponent did, but it is going to go ahead and de-Digivolve everything and then delete it all, which doesn't really matter. We can Blinding Ray there, getting rid of the Spiral, which is a bit annoying, and then I'm just going to hard play an Angelomon. My opponent isn't going to be able to delete my Angelomon here. They don't have the removal to do it, and With them going into the Alter S, it is pretty annoying to clear my board, but I do know that it won't go into anything else like maybe a Chaosmon or something, so my Andromon is relatively safe there. I can Blinding Ray, put them down to 2 which for minimal memory, and then next turn I'll be able to go into my WarGreymon and have the Andromon inheritable underneath the WarGreymon and start to make some moves, including going over this Alter S by unsuspending my WarGreymon, giving them -6k, and I'll also be able to drop a rookie because I'm at 3 or less security, so activation is real here. This is what the deck is built around, so I'm going to go straight into it. Going to draw first to decide what rookie I want to put in Raising and which ones I'm going to want to play off of the WarGreymon. So I'm going to be able to swing, unsuspend, and then I'm going to play these Starmons, and so it's getting -6 and -2, putting it all the way down to 7, so definitely going to be swung over there. And then I decide to put the other Starmons in Raising because I am going to swing again here, which is going to allow me to play Bushi for free, and I decided that was the rookie that I prefer to delete. Now hitting the Ultimate Flare in first check already is not looking good because now our WarGreymon's gone, and my opponent can Digivolve into a Gogmamon or something like that and swing over my Andromon if they do choose. So we're looking in a pretty disgusting position here. The Magidramon's going to come out and swing over. I was feeling like I was very far ahead that last turn when I was swinging over, getting rid of the Ultra S, playing a couple rookies, but just one Ultimate Flare insecurity is really shutting me down. So that's why this deck is so very scary, because if there's any Ultimate Flares insecurity, you do just kind of get shut down for a turn because they can clear so much off, and being able to de-Digivolve the WarGreymon down to the Andromon really put me far behind. I did get to build up back into another one, but I'm just so far behind that it's really going to take my opponent to either do a couple misplays or play really slow. That's going to give me the time. They do swing, but they have the security attack -2, so I just let them take that back. I'd rather them just go for the better play instead of just suspending there, because if I do go into a WarGreymon, then I will be able to swing over this Metal Garuru for pretty much no reason, just because they did an actual misplay. So I'd prefer, since this is just a locals match, to get the more optimal game plan going here. But now we're in a situation where my opponent is going to have 3 swings going into their next turn to my 2 security attacks, so going to have to either set up some defenses or shut down one of these Digimon. Obviously a WarGreymon would be great to be able to swing and unsuspend, but doing so is actually just going to make it so that I lose a security, and then even if I delete a Digimon, there will still be 2 checks to my 2 security. So going into the Falcomon there and then Digivolving into the Pitomon so I can get a little bit of resources going. Now I decided to go into WarGreymon here and put my opponent at 3 because what I feel like is the most promising flowchart for my opponent is going into the Metal Garuru and Digibursting the Pitomon, putting them to 0, and then swinging security, which is actually going to allow me to tap Kari and then end their turn and go to 3 with the TK. And so this will get rebooted, but now I have a much higher chance of either being able to swing in for game here or be able to start and try and clear the board. So I'm going to go into the Turimon, which is going to allow me to cycle a bit. I'm going to swing, unsuspend. I tap the Kari. There's no reason not to. I don't have any security left, and I'm going to give -6 to the Metal Garuru and then -1k to the Chumon with the Pikmon. So I don't have any security left, but I do have some presence on board. I do technically have the ability to try and swing in. My opponent has blocker on one of their Metal Garurus here, so this is where it's going to get really weird. I can technically swing in and give -1k to the Metal Garuru, which is going to make it so it can't block my WarGreymon yet, and I'll be able to drop another rookie. So as of right now, I'm trying to do the math of how am I going to be able to clear this off, because I am able to play another rookie for free. I was able to get the -6, and I have the Spiral Masquerade, so I'm just trying to figure out what is the best math to clear everything else off the board. One of the Metal Garurus is currently at 5k because I gave it -6. And the other one is still at 11, but I am going to swing with the WarGreymon and give -1k to the Metal Garuru. So just to clarify, the one closest to us is at 11k, the one with blocker, and the one furthest away from us is at 5k because I gave it the -6k, giving -1k here, so it's at 10k. It won't be able to, well, it can block my WarGreymon, but it's not going to be able to trade. And I'm going to play Starmons, which is giving it -4k. So it went from 10, it is now at 6. And the other one is at 5, so we have both of them are now in Spiral Masquerade range, so we have to see if they decide to block the WarGreymon, knowing that they are pretty low on DP, and that even they won't even be able to block the Sirenmon, because if I do swing with the Sirenmon, I can give the -1k DP there. So just thinking about if I want to do that Sirenmon swing, or if I just want to go straight into the Spiral. Like I said, I can swing with the Siren, give the -1k to the the Metal Garuru with blocker, putting it at 5k. So if it does block, it will just die. Both are at 5k, and if they do let it go through, then I get the security check. We see that it lives. I can swing again. They're going to have to block here. at the 5k, and then I can just go straight into the spiral to clear off the other one. Now, this was pretty much the game plan the entire turn, was to go for this WarGreymon, swing a couple times, play the Starmons, and spiral. I just had to figure out what the best way was going to do it, and my opponent blocking or not blocking really changed how the turn went. I remember my opponent let my Sirenmon attack go through, and I think at that point I said to him that just complicated everything, because now I had to figure out what was going to be the best outcome here. But my opponent's going to play the Mechanori. They don't have any way to win game because I will be able to just clear off, swing in next turn, and it can only block a couple of the Digimon, can't block the WarGreymon and the Sirenmon, so no matter what, we're going to be able to go in for game there. But now going into game 3, my opponent decides to go first. We are going to see a TK, which is nice because we haven't seen them hit memory retainers very much, or at least ones early on where they don't get choked. So now it's going to be a bit more of a less choky game than I've had them at the past couple turns. You see me here, I have to Digivolve the Falcomon in Raising. Now that is not the most beautiful thing to do, but if I'm going to hard play it, then it's going to cost 2 anyway. And I didn't have any other rookies in hand, so I figured I should just Digivolve it. That way I can get the cycle going. I'm gonna have to pay 2 memory no matter what, and then I hit these Starmons. I just decided to play the Starmons even though there's no target, because that gets me another Digimon on board, which not only will buff up my Spiral Masquerades, but will also give me a target to put a champion on top of. But I am gonna go Starmons into Spiral and just clear the board. My opponent's gonna go to 3 anyway with Izzy, so I'm just gonna put them at 4. Board clear them. If they want to go into the Ultimate Flare, then that's fine. They can clear my board, but I got them into a position where I'm not feeling too bad. The WarGreymon is pretty unfortunate because they get an ultimate out and just put me at 1, so need to find a way to stabilize here, because they are going to go into a Mega next turn, whether that be Metal Garuru or Hyandramon, but either way they're going to be kind of annoying because they're going to be really hard for me to get rid of with Spiral, because they're just going to be at such high DP so early. So playing these Pulsemons here, just going wide. Like I said, playing into Ultimate Flare, which is not something that I want to do, but I don't really have any other options. I'm just trying to cycle as much as possible with the Turimon and Raising and the Pulsemon swinging. Gonna hit the Blinding Ray, no effect there unfortunately. But my opponent doesn't have any blockers out on board or anything too impactful like that. Going to play out the Warumanze, which does put me at 4 memory, which is actually very good for me because that means I can Spiral Masquerade and not end my turn. What I'm thinking about here is, do I want to promote the Turimon or do I want to keep it in Raising? I do have the idea of wanting to Spiral Masquerade here and then swinging in with all my rookies. So if I do hit an Ultimate Flare, then I am just going to kind of lose my Turimon for no reason. So I decided to leave it in there so that way I can start to either build up or at least get some swings going to potentially get out some Ultimate Flares so that my Turimon doesn't get deleted. But we're going to Spiral there, give -6, and then -6 to the Andromon. Swinging in with the Pikmon, Inheritable there will make it so the Falcomon can trade in. So there we go. We saw that I swung in all the way there. Everything's gone, which I don't have to worry about too much. The Spirals have been played and have had their effectiveness come out. So I'm going to Spiral here so that way I can play an extra Falcomon, get 2 bodies on board. So now I have 3 swings to the 2 checks, and unless my opponent starts going up into a blocker or something, then they will just potentially go down next turn. And so we can really see the power of the Spiral Masquerades. The 2 Spirals so far have really just made it pretty hard for my opponent to really do anything. We see that they don't have the blocker and instead just go for the pass, don't have anything else to do. Shows me that they have a really heavy hand. So I'm going to have to swing in here. I'm pretty sure I just get game almost no matter what here, even if they hit the Ultimate Flare just because of the board position that we're at. But we see that we avoid it, and I'm able to swing in for game. So I am able to take that. That was a very, very interesting set. What a weird matchup that was. And Black Toolbox really has a lot of cards that make this deck really awkward and make it hard for this matchup. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to have some more matches from this local with this WarGreymon Rush deck. So if you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time for some more Digimon content. I hope you have a great day. Peace out.